Hello, students. You are welcome to this afternoon facilitation on Criminal Law 341. I had earlier sent you an invite to this class, but I'm here to see many of you, some of you on the Zoom now. But anyhow, we'll start our lecture, and as we go, I expect to see some of you coming in. We're going to treat some topics on this now, and we're going to start with our first topic today, which is basically going to be on the definitions and of course on the nature of crime. And we shall also look at other things like the sources and of course on the purpose of criminal law. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you, and I expect you to follow up as I do so. Yes, we are going to be looking at the meaning and the definitions of crime. Like I said today, this is our first topic on this course on Criminal Law 341. Okay, the course code is PUL 341. I'm basically going to look at the meaning and the definition of crime. I can see Akiniran Olaluwa Yemi joining us now. I also expect to see others very soon. So basically, if I want to ask you, what do you see as crime? Like I will always say, before we go into this definition, it's better that we remember our definition of what law is. By the time we're able to understand what law is, we'll also be able to understand what crimes are. Okay? Note that the definition of crime and the common nature they are found to possess. We're also going to be looking at the case of Article Trade Association and Attorney General for Canada. In that case, basically, we are going to see that the basic nature of crime is the fact that we will be understanding what is being prohibited by the state, and that those who commit them are punished. So while we are going to say that laws are basically rules and regulations that regulate human behavior backed up by sanction for their enforcement, we are going to be noticing that crimes are acts or omissions that are prescribed by the state and also have sanctions for violations. So in other words, anything that is deemed as prohibited, that is deemed as unacceptable, that is having a law backing it up, of course, will be deemed seen as a crime. We're also going to be looking at Section 2 of the Criminal Code and Section 53 of the Penal Code. These sections are all the same, talking about what crime is, talking about acts or omissions that are being prescribed in the state. Section 36.
Yeah,
612 also is to the effect that no person shall be convicted of a criminal offense, unless that offense is defined and the penalty.
Okay, it's just 4-letter words. How does it go?
It's prescribed in a written law. Also note the case of alcohol and fagbemi. Now, basically, you'll be able to understand that in whatever jurisdiction you find yourself, in whatever clime you find yourself, it will depend, that will determine your own definition of crime. Because it could be influenced by some factors, like political factors, environmental factors. It could also be influenced by economic factors, or even the sociocultural factor of a place, even religiously. that all this could define what crimes are. So I don't expect every one of you to have a precise definition of what crimes are, okay? But suffice it to say that whatever definitions you come out with, it must be something that talks about acts or omissions that are not acceptable in that society, acts or omissions that are being prescribed by the state, and also acts or omissions that have sanctions attached to them for their enforcement. We all know that there are certain acts that are deemed as crimes in the South, but are not seen as crime in the North. This is because of the religious environment, because of the political environment. You can now see that that is why it could be possible that while adultery is a crime in the North, it's not seen as a crime in the South. In that case, that's why I was referring you to the case of Aiko and Fagbemi, where you will find out that because such an act was not, as at that time, prescribed in the written law, it was deemed not to be an offense. So with this, I expect every one of you to come up with your own definition of crime, with your own meaning, and of course, by having understand what it should all embrace, you should all be able to come out with your own definition of it. So goals, for those of you using the criminal code, look at your section 2 of the criminal code, or if you have the penal code, go to your section 53 of the penal code. And of course, every one of you should have a constitution. So you go through your section 36, subsection 12 of the Constitution. I don't know whether if any of you have questions for me on this, what we said. Do any of us have questions on what we've said so far? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my dear. Who is speaking?
My name is Akini Oyemi.
Okay, I'm listening. Do you have any question on what we've said so far?
Yes, please.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, my question is on the 3.5 dynamics of criminal law.
3.5. What do you mean by 3.5?
As in, I'm actually with the material for criminal law. So there is a question in which I have studied that topic, but I'm trying to, get more light to it. That is how to identify which conduct is serious or which is minor.
Okay, basically, although this is not under what we're talking about now, but basically you find out that crimes, offenses are normally classified according to their gravity, okay, according to the seriousness of the offense. And that is why we have both felonies. That is why we also have misdemeanor and we have simple offenses. If you go to your provisions of the criminal code, felonies are offenses like death sentences, rape, all those kind of serious offenses that normally attach punishment of over 3 years. Okay? Yes. Over 3 years and things like that. And then if it's a misdemeanor is between 3 years and less than and above 6 months. And then any other one below 6 months normally seen regarded as a simple offense. But apart from that, the statute creating that offense also could tell you whether that offense is a simple offense, it's a misdemeanor, or it's a felonious offense. So if you are going through some of your statutory books, those offenses are so defined there to be serious offenses or what have you. Is it clear? Hello? Hello?
It's clear. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, good. So having said that, we'll just basically go to also say that to the sociologist, an act is viewed as a crime if it can be shown that it offends against the strong and definite collective sentiments of the society. What do I mean by this? That so generally, we know that in every environment, in everywhere you find yourself, different people, the criminologists will define crime the way they think is a crime. The sociologists will define crime the way they also define crime. You know, are you hearing me? Some people are
Yes.
talking. Please unmute yourself. Please mute yourself, sorry. So that we don't disturb, please. So in all of this, to the lawyer anyway, or to the criminal law student, like I've said before, you should be able to posit your own definition of crime. You should be able to do that and also be able to know that it is basically something that an authority, the state must have so defined it. It must be in a prescribed law, okay? It must be in a written law, and there must be sanctions attached to it for its enforcement. That's basically what differentiates it from the sociologist's view that sees it as a crime that offends against the strong and definite collective sentiment of the society. But the lawyer will go beyond that to attach punishment or sanctions to it for its enforcement. So I believe we all understand that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so having said that, basically we'll go briefly to the brief history of criminal law. Briefly, I've just put something here that before the advent of the colonial masters, there existed various customary criminal laws in our respective communities, both in the South and in the North. This, you all agree with me on that. These customary laws were based on certain social norms that provided various sanctions in form of punishment. In the North was the Maliki school, made up of highly developed schools of jurists and the Muslim criminal law. In the South, well, of course, we have the customary laws also in existence. But with the advent of the English people, we had both their own laws and our laws side by side. We also had our native courts and their own kinds of courts also existing side by side. But we know that with time, our own laws were deemed to be repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, where they find that such laws, according to them, were deemed barbaric and all that. But we find out that, sorry, let's go back to the previous slide. We find out that in the North, you know, they also introduced the criminal code to the North. This, of course, did not go well with the basic Islamic laws of the North, particularly in offenses like adultery, offenses like incest, offenses like drunkenness, robbery, molestation of women, and provocation. So we find that these laws existing side by side with the criminal code made it difficult, or led to a lot of controversies that were later resolved. I would advise that you go back and read certain cases like Guba and Gwandu Native Authority, and of course the Mazobel and the Sokoto Native Authority. I don't have their citation here, but if you go to your books, like the book on Okonkwo and Arch, okay, it's a textbook on criminal law that I will advise every one of you to have. It's a textbook called Okonkwo and Arch on criminal law that I will advise that you all should have. If you go there, you will see those cases there, and then you try and read those cases. And we see that with those laws existing side by side, there were bound to be issues. But by the year 1953, by the year 1959, we now had a situation whereby the customary criminal laws were abolished, both for the North and the South. So we now had in existence the penal law, you know, the penal code, sorry, and the criminal code for the South. Now the penal code was fashioned after the penal code of India and Sudan in 1959 to replace the criminal code in the North. The coming of the penal code brought to an end the application of the customary criminal code. Section 3.2 specifically provides that after the commencement of this law, no person shall be liable to punishment under any native law and custom. So this was the position as at 1959. So by this time, after 1959 and 1960, the customary criminal law has been abolished. There is this, of course, received constitutional expression in the 1960 Constitution to the effect that no person shall be convicted of a criminal offense unless that offense is defined and the penalty is prescribed in the written law. This provision has been replicated in all the subsequent constitutions, including our present constitution including our present constitution, the 1999 constitution. So if you go to section 36, subsection 12, which we are going to be seeing later on too, you'll find out where it is also written that no person can be punished for any offense unless that offense is so written in a law. So while in the South, the criminal code is applicable to 17 states, in the North, it is the penal code that is applicable to 19 states. So having said that, so what comes to our mind is, can one therefore say is that with the coming into effect of the penal code and of course the criminal code, can one say that the customary criminal law have been totally abolished? Would you agree? Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know what you will say to that. Is it Evelyn's voice I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. I asked a question. Now, with the coming into effect of the penal code and the criminal code in the South, would you agree that customary criminal law have been totally abolished? That's a question I'm asking all of you, and I expect some answers. Nobody's giving me an answer. Well, I will just give you a brief, I'll just give you an insight. You remember that there are some things we still do in some of our localities that some of us still believe that customary criminal law is still in existence, okay? By the way, because if you remember that some people still believe strongly that some of the practices in their communities, in their villages, are still what is what the law still is in those areas. But the truth of the matter is that any matter that is being brought to the court under our criminal justice administration, such matters must be something that, or such offense that is being brought must be something that is being backed up by a written law. Where that is not the case, of course, that cannot be deemed to be a crime, because as far as the law is concerned, all customary criminal law have been abolished. But in practice, that might not be the case. Okay? Any questions?
Yes.
Do we have any questions? Now we are going to look at the sources of criminal law. What therefore are the sources of criminal law? Of course, we already have two, which we've been talking about, the criminal code and the penal code. We also have the Constitution. When we are talking of sources here, we are talking about those statutes that are in existence that contains crimes, issues on crimes, issues on offenses. Again, I forgot to mention that when we are talking about crimes, it also means the same thing as offenses. Remember, I said I should go through your section 2 and of course your section 53 of the section 2 of the criminal code and your section 53 of the penal code. You will find out that both, whether it's crime or whether it is offense, they mean the same thing and they are used interchangeably. We also make reference once in a while to a decree of the federal military government or an edict of the state. Again, where we do not have any law in existence, in application to any case, reference is being made to the received English law. Although most times the laws that have been used from those places are normally of persuasive influence. Okay, they're normally persuasive in nature and do not really bind us, as it were. We also have some statutes that prescribe crimes. Okay, we have the Police Act of recently that was amended in 2020. We have the Money Laundering Act. We have the EFCC Act, the ICPC Act, the Copyright Act, and many others. The essence of these acts, like I've mentioned, is that there are provisions in them that deal with crime. And if you go reading them, you will find out that these provisions provide for what the crime is, what is the definition, and what are the punishments so on that. So where anybody is found guilty or found wanting of having violated these acts or this of having committed this act or having committed an omission, such a person will be found guilty. In our later class, we shall be looking at those acts. What do we regard as acts? What do we regard as omissions? Okay, and how do they come out to constitute crime? We shall find out that ordinarily, even certain acts we do that normally might be offensive, we might find out that they are not seen as crime because they are not so prescribed by any law in existence. Now, the question I have here for you is the question of the one I just asked you, that some quarters are still of the opinion. I hope you are looking at it, that in some quarters are still of the opinion that customary criminal law is still in existence and is applicable in Nigeria. Do you agree? I want you to go back and go through it and come back next class so that we can exchange ideas, we can discuss and know what is the true position of things. Although I've mentioned to you what is really still in existence, but I want you to go and read back and then we can discuss further next class. So apparently we don't, this is the introductory, or this is the first topic we're having in this class. And I want you to ask me questions. I want some of you, let me ask you, I've asked a question earlier on that what is in your own view, what is the definition of a crime? Can anybody throw some light on that? Can anybody give me what you think is in some definition of crime?
So, I would say crime is an offense.
Yes.
Or an act which the public or the law frowns at.
Yes.
And anyone breaches that law or the law that is being made by the state,
yes,
will be punished or sanctioned for that.
Exactly. Exactly. That is a good one. That's a good one. I want to also ask, what factors do you think are contributory to the definition of a crime? What factor do you think influence the definition of a crime?
Hello, ma, I didn't get you, ma.
I said, what factors? What factors influence the definition of a crime?
Influence the definition of a crime.
Yes. What factors do you think could influence the definition of a crime? Who is speaking?
The factors that can influence the definition, the factor that can influence a crime could be it could be provocation. Provocation can influence the factors of the crime.
You're not getting me. You've just given me a good idea of what you think is a crime, okay? Of what you think is the definition of a crime. Beautiful idea. Beautiful way you've put it. Okay?
I'm not getting you.
Yes, but I wanted you to think back and think, what do you think can influence the way you define a crime now? Will it be the same way that somebody in the US would define a crime?
No.
Why?
Because the US has their own system in which crime is being, their own systems of crime, offense. They have their own system of offense, which differs is not the same with Nigeria.
Okay, good.
For example, now, one of the sources of criminal law you gave us, you're talking about the act, which is the EFCC Act, or money laundering, which prohibits anyone for committing this cyber crime. In some other countries, they don't prohibit it's not an offense for someone for someone that goes into cyber crime, like maybe money laundering or this internet stuff.
Yeah.
So the crime differs. The crimes in the US is not the same thing as Nigeria, though there are some that is the same, but not all, in my own view.
Very, very, very good. Does anybody have any contrary opinion? Okay, does anybody have any contrary opinion? I can see Peter Opotu there. Ahmed Aliyu, Kankagi. I hope I'm not killing the name. Can you give me your own idea of crime?
Hello, ma.
Yes, okay. Yes, I'm listening.
My own definition of crime is anything that violates the
that is speaking.
social norm. No, it's not me.
Yes,
Can you hear
I'm
me? Some people's mic are still on. Well,
no, speak. I'm hearing you. Speak. I'm hearing you.
Okay. My own definition of crime happens to be anything that violates the social norms of the society, whether written or implemented.
Whether written or what?
Whether it is a written ideology that it should not violate the social norms of the society.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. No, but what you should have there, what you should know there is that under our laws, okay, so because you are a Nigerian and under our Nigerian law, it prescribes that for anything to be an offense, there must be
written.
against it. So ordinarily, anything that you could see as something that somebody have done that you feel really offended, but you find that you cannot bring that person under our laws because it is not so written. What the person has done or has omitted to do is not so written. And because it's not so written, you cannot punish that person. Like in the start, for instance, getting drunk. Can you punish somebody for getting drunk?
No.
No, you cannot.
No, ma.
In the South here, under our South,
Because it's not written.
it is not so written down. But that is an offense in the
Yes,
North.
ma.
Because it is written down in the North. And what has affected that, what has influenced it in being an offense is because of religion. Are you following?
Yes. That means
Yes,
ma.
That is why I was telling you that certain factors can determine what is an offense.
Yes, ma.
Okay?
Like ma, for
Yes,
instance now, the act of, because you said any law that is written, is when someone is anything that is written is a law.
Yes.
So our criminal law is a written document.
Yes.
So anyone that breaches, for someone to be punished for a crime he or she commits, that crime that he commits must be written in our criminal law.
Yes.
If it is not written, that means
not just in our criminal law. Hold on. In
our constitution and the rest.
Yes.
Yes.
Acts of the National Assembly, laws of the states, and so it must be so put down.
Ma'am, please, like this question you asked now, you are saying if the customary law is still in existence. When you go to the North, I would agree to that. Some of the customary law are still in existence.
Yes.
For instance, the being drunk in the North is not something. Everyone, like the Constitution said, anyone is free to do what he or she likes, but there's exception to it. Yeah. For instance, now freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom and all of that. But it's only when you misuse it, it can be restricted. That's why there's exception. Okay. But when it being a person's habit becomes something that is being punishable by the law, it has become a customary act, which has affected the criminal law. So some of the customary law is still in the existence when it comes to the penal code, which is the northern part of Nigeria.
Okay, I'm listening to you. Yes. Any other person? And like what you said the other time, like for instance, take the offense of gay marriages. Okay. You see the offense of gay marriage. You know that in our jurisdiction here, it is an offense, isn't it? And when you are found wanting, it's 14 years jail term. Okay. But in some places of the world, it is not an offense. There's a law that permits it. Are you following me? There's a law that permits it. But in under our own area here, it is not. It is not an offense. I mean, it's an offense punishable with 14 years. You can see that in those areas, what could have influenced that is politics. It's political in nature. Are you following me? In some areas of the world, it's an offense to eat the pork meat, okay? Because there's a written law against it. But down here, that is not an offense. So what am I saying here is that for it to be an offense, our law says it just must be written. And of course, written, it must be something that is against, that is for the protection of everyone, okay? That takes us to the purposes of criminal law. What is the purpose? The purpose of criminal law basically is to protect the human dignity, okay? To ensure that the administration of criminal justice is efficient. That's one of the purposes. Also to ensure that the moral fabrics of the society. Are you following? To protect human dignity, to protect the human person, to protect the owner's interest in property, okay? To ensure that the agent or the agents in the administration of justice are seen to be working and working well. So where the safety of my life becomes an issue, criminal law will protect me. Okay? Where the safety of my property becomes an issue, the criminal law makes provision for the protection of my property. Are you following? Where my body will be assaulted and abused, there's provision in the law protecting me. I don't know whether you are following. And this is why it is also different from civil law. Okay? Civil law also goes to protect the individual. But while the civil law is between the individual and an individual, criminal law basically is between the individual and the state. Okay? So while you have law of torts, law of contract, family law, all tending towards remedy and damages, criminal law tends towards punishment and also compensation. I don't know whether you are following.
Yes, ma'am.
So you see that these are some of the differences between criminal law and civil law. So criminal law is basically a law that is being acted upon by the state on behalf of the society. Without it, you can imagine the entire world, everywhere will be in anarchy and chaos. But because we have laws that check us, we have laws that say if you go to another man's house to steal, you will be punished. We have laws that say that if you kill this and this person, you will be punished. Okay? It is different from a law that says between you and this, you have a contract. And when you are in breach of contract, you will be awarded damages. I don't know whether you are following.
Yes, ma'am.
These are some of these. So you should be able to differentiate it from civil law, okay? And be able to say what are the differences between it and civil law, okay? It is an aspect of public law. So for instance, if you are doing criminal law and they ask you what department you are you in? You will say you are in Department of Public Law, okay? It's different from somebody doing the law of contract or doing the law, doing the family law that will be found in the Department of Private Law. So because of these differences, okay, that will now determine also the department you find in a faculty and which department you find yourself. So if you find yourself mainly in courses having to do with public, you'll be found in public law. If you find yourself doing mainly with courses that have to do with private law, you will find yourself in private law. Or if you find yourself in courses mainly having to do with international law, jurisprudence and all that, you find yourself in international and jurisprudence. Okay, family department. I don't know whether you are following.
Yes,
ma'am. So all we are going to say today is that basically, like I said, this is our first topic. Next week, we're going to meet next week, I think on Tuesday. Okay, I'll give you the time. Next week, Tuesday, we'll come here for the second. I'll send you the time. I'll send you the invite. Okay. Now, if you are also, I don't know whether some of you are doing criminal law 342, because that I will fix on Wednesday. Okay, because that's the second semester aspect of it. Some of you are doing 341, some of you are doing 342. So Tuesday next week, I will invite you for another class session where we are going to deal more okay, on these things. Again, the essence of criminal law too is to educate, okay, every one of us. Like now, we're all being educated. Isn't that so? And we're able to find out that some things should be done, some things, these are some of the things that should be done, some of the things that shouldn't be done. Now, for this class, there are certain things that you must have behind you when you are reading the class. That textbook I gave to you, the one on the Okonkwo, I have it with you. It's an old textbook, but the principles in that textbook still remains the same. There are other textbooks on criminal law that you might come across. Please, you can also have them for further reading, okay? Then, of course, your constitution. I want to believe every one of you should have it. And like I said before, your criminal code and your penal code should be with you, okay? These statutes will help you to understand the course very well, okay? If also many of you should be having your course materials by now. So when you have your course material, if you don't have it, it's online. Go online and also download it. It will assist you a lot in this class. It's a very interesting class and it's a very interactive class too. So when we come here, we discuss and we try to apply it practically to see how, in one way or the other, it affects you and I. Any other question?
Ma.
Yes.
As the school, if I know what I know, when I first entered that school, I know what I know now. The school is one of the easiest schools to
Hello.
Could be wrong. Asking, know what?
Are you okay for today? Everything is get today on the stand, you don't see. Yes.
Hello, ma.
Yes.
The textbook that you want to get, I don't know
what. So what are you looking for to get it?
You that are talking, please. The noise is so much in the background.
That is another thing. That is another thing. Yes, it's true. Based on our work.
Please be muted. I don't know who is talking. I just asked the lecturer a question. That the textbook, please, I want to get the name of the textbook again, ma. And if you have it on you.
I said Okonkwo and Nach. Okonkwo.
Sorry, ma.
Okonkwo and Nach is spelled N-A-I-S-H.
Okonkwo
and Nach.
And Nach.
N-A-I-S-H.
N-A-I-S-H.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
There are other textbooks on the topic. You should get them. Please also read them. Okay. That book, the only thing about that book is that it's very comprehensive, contains all topics that we are going to be looking at in this course. Okay. It also has a lot of kids that might be old, but they are still, many of them are still applicable. But basically, the principles as applicable to criminal law are there and they are still very relevant. So that is why I'm saying you should go there and then read it. Okay?
Okay, ma.
All right. So in the absence of any other question, we will meet next week, Tuesday, by 2 o'clock. Okay, I will still send the invite to that. Is it okay with us all?
Very okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Very okay, ma'am.
Okay, all right, good. And then please tell other colleagues that we have this time every week, Tuesdays for period 341 and Wednesdays for period 342. Okay? Okay. If there's need to alter it, I will always let you know. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you all for being present for this facilitation. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, dear. Somebody wants to ask a question? Hello? Okay. So we'll call it a day for today. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. You gone?
Who is that?
Hello. It's Ahmed. I want to know if you post your presentation on your PowerPoint presentation for us to also go through on our own personal time.
Okay, well, I'll do that.
Thank you. We appreciate it, ma.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you too. Please let others know so that they can be available next week. Thank you.
Okay, we'll share that, man. No problem, man. Thank you.